Welcome to The Explainer. We have more information at our fingertips than any other time in history. So why does learning sometimes feel so lonely and overwhelming? Today, we're going to dig into a really powerful fix for that, the idea of pooling our knowledge. Let's dive right into the world of cooperative learning.
So, does this look familiar? I mean, you've got all the resources, tons of articles, videos, textbooks, right? But you're still sitting there kind of puzzled, trying to connect all the dots by yourself. It's a super common feeling. But, the sources we're looking at today point to a pretty powerful solution.
All right, first up, let's really get into the core difference between learning on your own versus learning together. And trust me, it is a much bigger shift than you might think.
So on one side, you have that traditional individual learning, which, let's be honest, can get pretty competitive. Think about grading on a curve, right? Where for you to succeed, someone else might have to do worse. But cooperative learning totally flips that script. Instead of competing, students actually lean on each other's resources and skills. They're asking for help, they're bouncing ideas off one another, and they're basically building knowledge as a team.
So what is this thing exactly? Well, the official definition talks about structuring positive interdependence. Now, that's a pretty fancy way of saying the whole system is designed so that everyone needs each other to succeed. The key idea here is that students are working with each other toward a common goal, not against each other for a gold star.
Of course, it's not as simple as just throwing a few people into a group and hoping for the best. For this to really truly work, our sources show that it has to be built on a solid foundation of 5 essential elements.
And these 5 elements, they all build on each other. It kicks off with positive interdependence. That's the whole we sink or swim together idea. That sense of a shared fate, well, it naturally leads to individual accountability because, hey, nobody wants to be the one to let the team down. This gets reinforced by face-to-face interaction, where students are challenging and teaching each other directly. And to do that well, they need collaborative skills, things like good communication and figuring out disagreements. And finally, the whole thing gets better through group processing, where they actually talk about what's working and what isn't. Every single piece is absolutely crucial.
And what's so fascinating here is how the teacher's role just completely transforms. They go from being the sage on the stage, just delivering information, to becoming the guide on the side, who's there to facilitate the student's own journey of discovery. So what does this actually look like when you walk into a classroom? I mean, there are hundreds of different techniques, but let's break down 2 of the most popular and, frankly, most effective ones. First up is a classic, think, pair, share. And it's just beautifully simple. The teacher poses a question. Step 1, the students just think about it quietly on their own. Step 2, they pair up with a partner and talk about their ideas. And then, step 3, the teacher calls on different pairs to share their combined thinking with the whole class. It's a great way to make sure everyone's voice gets heard, not just the fastest thinkers in the room. Okay, next up, we have a technique that perfectly captures this whole idea of pooling knowledge. It's called the jigsaw method. And with this one, every single student becomes a totally indispensable piece of the final puzzle. All right, so here's how it works. Students start out in a home group. Now, each person in that group gets assigned a different piece of the topic. Then, they break away and form expert groups with students from other teams who all have the same piece. In these expert groups, they really dig in and master their one section. Then, finally, they go back to their original home group, and each expert teaches their piece to the rest of the team. It's just brilliant because it perfectly illustrates that positive interdependence. The only way for any single student to see the full picture is to trust and rely on their teammates. Now, this all sounds great in theory, right? But here's the real question. Does it actually work? I mean, what does the evidence really say about pooling knowledge? Let's find out. Well, the verdict is in, and it's pretty darn clear. The research has shown, and this is a direct quote from our sources, overwhelmingly positive results. So yeah, this isn't just some nice idea, it's a proven, really effective way to learn.
And the academic gains are seriously impressive. We're not just talking about higher test scores and better grades, although studies definitely show those too. This is about something deeper. Students actually get a stronger, more lasting grasp of the material, which in turn helps them build the critical reasoning skills they need to apply that knowledge in totally new situations.
And the benefits go so far beyond academics. I mean, think about the personal growth that's happening here. Students build confidence, they build motivation. That can change their entire attitude about school. They are actively learning how to work as a team, how to resolve disagreements. I mean, these are crucial life skills. And maybe most important of all, it helps break down social barriers. creating a more inclusive and just plain positive classroom for everyone.
But of course, no method is perfect. To get the whole picture, we have to be real and acknowledge some of the challenges and limitations you'd face trying to put this into practice.
Yeah, making this happen isn't always a walk in the park. You might get some resistance from students, some might feel like they're being held back, while others might feel like they're being ignored. And this puts a lot more pressure on the teacher, who really needs solid training to handle these group dynamics. Even something that sounds simple like peer evaluation can get pretty tricky when friendships and group politics get in the way of honest feedback.
A really common question is, but what about the gifted students? And it's a fair concern. While the research is a little divided on this, our sources point out that a larger body of work actually concludes that these mixed ability groups lead to better outcomes for everyone. The process of teaching the material to others really solidifies that knowledge for the advanced students, all while lifting up their peers.
And all of this kind of leaves us with one last big thought. In a world that so often feels fractured and competitive, a model that's built on shared goals and mutual respect feels more important than ever. So maybe, just maybe, learning how to cooperate effectively isn't just another academic skill. It might just be the most important lesson of all.